My girlfriend said, "I can walk away. Boys are begging for me." She expected me to panic. Instead, I replied, "Great, there's the exit." I stopped texting and watched her crumble when she realized she'd lost leverage. When you stay with someone who constantly needs to prove they're wanted, you start to understand it's not confidence. It's insecurity dressed up as power. My girlfriend Lena had that kind of energy. She was beautiful, knew it, and made sure everyone else did too. When we first met, I thought her boldness was magnetic. She was sharp, funny, a little unpredictable. It made life interesting. But as months went by, I noticed something else. She didn't crave love, she craved control. Before I go on, I'd really like to know, where are you watching from? Your city, your country? It's always nice seeing where these stories reach and how many people have lived through something similar in completely different corners of the world. The first signs were easy to miss. She'd make little comments after arguments like, "You're lucky I'm still here," or "I could get anyone I want." It sounded like teasing at first, but over time, she said it more often and with less of a smile. The tone shifted. It wasn't a joke anymore. It was a reminder, a warning. Every disagreement became a test. If I didn't text her fast enough, she'd go quiet for hours just to watch me worry. If I didn't compliment her photo within minutes, she'd ask, "So you didn't see it, or you just didn't care?" She was always keeping score, and somehow, I was always the one losing. That night, we were sitting in her car outside my place. She'd been distant all evening, on her phone through dinner, laughing at messages I wasn't supposed to ask about. When I finally did, she just said, "Relax. You're too jealous for your own good." I didn't argue. I just looked out the window, thinking about how normal this had started to feel. The silence stretched for a while before she decided to break it. "I can walk away, you know," she said flatly. "Boys are begging for me." "You act like I need you." Her voice didn't shake. She said it like a fact, like she expected me to panic. I didn't. I just turned my head, met her eyes, and said quietly, "Great. There's the exit." Her expression froze. It was subtle, but I saw it. The quick flash of surprise, then disbelief. I opened the car door, stepped out, and walked away. No yelling, no drama, no last glance. Just movement. I knew her well enough to predict what would happen next. And right on cue, my phone started buzzing before I even reached the door. One message, then another. "Are you serious right now? You're just gonna walk away? This is so childish." I didn't answer. I set my phone down, turned off the light, and went to sleep. The next morning, there were missed calls, dozens of messages, long paragraphs that started with anger and ended with guilt. "You don't care about me anymore. Fine, go live your boring life." I didn't mean what I said. I left them unread. By the afternoon, she switched tactics, posting cryptic stories, tagging songs with lyrics that screamed heartbreak, hoping I'd take the bait. I didn't. She wanted a reaction, and my silence was louder than anything I could have said. 2 days later, she showed up at my door. No warning, she looked the same. Perfect hair, perfect posture, but her eyes gave her away. There was tension behind them. She walked in without waiting for me to invite her. "You're really not going to talk to me?" she asked, her voice a mix of irritation and uncertainty. "About what?" I said. "About what happened." I leaned against the wall. "You said you could walk away. I let you." She blinked like she didn't hear me right. "I didn't mean it like that," she said quickly. "I was upset. I was just testing you." "Testing me?" I repeated. "For what?" "To see if you still care." I let that sit in the air. She shifted her weight, looking anywhere but at me. The confidence she usually carried was gone. She tried to fill the silence by talking faster, explaining, justifying, turning her own words into a misunderstanding. I stayed quiet. Every time she paused, hoping I'd interrupt, I didn't. She sighed, frustrated. "You're being cold," I shrugged. "You wanted space. I gave it to you." For a long moment, she just stood there, staring at me like she couldn't recognize the person in front of her. This wasn't the reaction she expected. The usual pattern was me apologizing, trying to smooth things over. This time, nothing. She walked around the room, restless. "So that's it. You're just done? You said you could walk away, I said evenly. No one's stopping you. Her jaw tightened. You're really not going to fight for this? I didn't respond. That silence hit her harder than anything else could have. I could see it, the shift in her posture, the way her voice softened, the edge fading as panic crept in. She wasn't used to losing control. She sat down on the couch, quieter now. I didn't think you'd actually ignore me, she said after a while. I didn't answer. She tried to smile like nothing happened. You're stubborn, you know that? I nodded slightly. Guess I learned it from being with you. That one landed. She looked away. She stayed for another 10 minutes, maybe 15. Said a few more things trying to get me to react. I didn't. She eventually grabbed her bag, hesitated by the door and said, You've changed. I didn't move. She waited, maybe expecting me to ask her to stay. I didn't. After a few seconds, she opened the door and left. The hallway was quiet. I stood there for a moment, listening to the sound of her heels fading down the stairs. Then I closed the door and locked it. No emotion, no reflection, no afterthought. Just done. For the next few days, things stayed quiet. No texts, no calls, nothing. It was strange at first, but not in the way you might think. The silence wasn't heavy, it was clean. Everything that used to revolve around her mood suddenly didn't matter anymore. I went to work, hit the gym, came home and slept without wondering what she was thinking. By day 3, I started getting messages from her friends, subtle ones. Hey, she's really upset. You should talk to her. She misses you. They came with that same undertone, like I was supposed to feel guilty for not reaching out. I didn't. She'd built a whole image around being untouchable, so if she was finally feeling what she'd made me feel for months, that was on her. That evening, she posted a story of herself out at dinner with friends. Same restaurant we used to go to, same table. I didn't react. She wanted me to see it. Every little move was a performance designed to pull me back. But once you stop reacting, the script falls apart. The next night, my phone lit up again, this time her name, a call. I let it ring out. She called again, then texted asterisk, can we talk? Just 5 minutes. I didn't answer. Half an hour later, another message. I can't believe you're acting like this. You think you're proving something, but you're just being cold. Still nothing. By morning, she'd written another wall of text. This one was softer. I know I said stupid things. I was angry. I didn't mean any of it. I miss you. Please, can we just talk? I read it twice, then locked my phone. Sometimes silence isn't avoidance. It's clarity. That afternoon, I ran into one of her mutual friends at a cafe. She smiled like she knew something I didn't. She's been a mess, you know. Barely sleeping, crying all the time. She really loves you. I nodded but didn't say much. Love and possession aren't the same thing, and what Lena wanted wasn't love, it was control. 2 more days passed before she showed up again. This time, she didn't even knock. She came in when I opened the door for a delivery, like it was still her place. She looked tired, not put together like usual. Her makeup was gone, hair tied up messily. There was no performance left. I can't do this anymore, she said quietly. Do what? I asked. Pretend like I don't care. You win, okay? I leaned against the counter. It's not about winning. Well, it feels like it. She sat down, looking around the apartment like she was expecting something to feel familiar again. You really weren't going to talk to me? I had nothing left to say. She nodded slowly. You're different. I stopped playing, I said. For a moment, neither of us spoke. She kept fidgeting, glancing at me, waiting for some reaction she could use as an opening. There wasn't one. The silence between us wasn't charged. It was empty. She looked uncomfortable in it. That told me everything. She finally said, I said those things because I thought you'd fight for me. And you said you could walk away, I replied evenly. So I let you. Her voice cracked. You didn't even try to stop me. That was the point. She exhaled hard and looked down at her hands. The same hands that used to hold her phone like it was a weapon now just rested in her lap, shaking slightly. I thought you'd chase me, she said. I used to. She nodded, eyes wet, Not from anger, but from something that looked a lot like realization. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Then don't," I said. The air between us stayed still. For once, she had no story to tell, no angle to play, no control to lean on. Just quiet. After a few minutes, she stood up slowly. "So that's it?" I looked at her. "You already said it was." She didn't argue this time. She just gave a small nod, picked up her bag, and walked to the door. Her steps were slower than before, like she was dragging the weight of her own words behind her. When she opened the door, she turned slightly like she wanted to say something else, but nothing came out. She left. I didn't follow. I didn't look out the window. I just sat down and let the room stay quiet. That night, no messages. The next day, nothing. By the end of the week, the silence had become permanent. But here's the thing. She didn't disappear completely. A month later, I saw her at a friend's gathering. She froze when she saw me. For a second, it was like time rewound. Same eyes, same confidence, same attempt to look unaffected. But there was something different behind it, an understanding she hadn't had before. She came over, smiled lightly, and said, "Hey." "Hey," I replied. "You look good," she said. "So do you." It was polite, civil. That was it. She stood there for a second longer, like she wanted to say more, but eventually just nodded and walked away. After that night, she stopped trying to reach out. The call stopped. The games ended. Whatever leverage she thought she had was gone, and she knew it. Sometimes people don't realize how far they've pushed you until you stop pulling back. And when that happens, there's no argument left to have, no closure needed. Things just end. And if you were standing where I stood that day, watching someone who once held all the power realize it was gone, what would you have done? Would you have walked away the same way I did? Or would you have stayed to see if they meant their apology?